Hello, this is Star from Lowrance, and I am going to give you a quick run through on network settings. Network settings are basically the patch panel for everything. If you remember the old lady with the telephone patches in old movies, that's basically what the network settings are. It's patching the settings into your Lowrance so that you can customize many different things along the Lowrance. Let's go ahead and get into it. If you press your power button, quick press your power button and go into your settings, you will see a couple of different things here, but specifically you're going to see network. What network is it's basically the how we're networking things in the unit. So if you look at your info screen, your device name, your auto configure, your data sources, basically these are all of the things that allow you to set up things. Let's say some things that you would need to use for network settings would be if you are wanting to configure a temp sensor. Let's say you're wanting your units to not change things back and forth in the unit. You're wanting your GPS 0.1 antenna to just draw from the 0.1 antenna, and that would allow you to do that as well. What you see here is you see data sources, device list, and network. Right now we're going to go into data sources. So the data source selection screen, you'll see various different things that are going to be on your screen. Today we're just going to be working with GPS and sonar. We have a simulator on the system, so keep in mind that's going to be simulating some things. But as you see right here, GPS, all data, and here are what are known as data sources. This gray arrow, basically, if you take a look at that, I'm going to hit that a couple of times. That expands or contracts that expands or contracts the settings. So if I'm wanting to get into the internal GPS, the difference between auto GPS and internal GPS would be, let's say I want this unit to pull off of the internal GPS at all times. So I want to hit internal GPS and want to have that pull from that system at all times. If I have that pull from that system at all times, then I can be sure that it's pulling just from the antenna that's right into here as opposed to any other antennas along the network. If I have auto internal GPS selected, what that means is that it's going to pick from this internal GPS or any of the other network GPSs that are there. And as you know, a lot of people have what are known as 3 dashes along, say, temperature sensors, 3 dashes along your GPS position. You know, maybe your GPS position has a question mark on it. This is the place where you fix that. Because as you can see, we have an estimated position error rate of 11.8. We have our latitude and longitude listed down here, and then we have everything that's needed in order to be able to see that go in there. Now we have our ability to be able to lock into position, and we have a lock. So I mean, the good thing about that is with your GPS data, with everything that's going on there, then you're going to be able to see all the things that you need. So a good way to be able to just access these. As you notice, the arrow pointing toward the GPS basically means it's contracted. If I expand, the arrow goes down, basically kind of toward the corner there, and as that is toward the corner there, it will actually show that it's expanded. Some of you will see this global versus local, and I'm just going to have that listed there. A lot of times, you know, I get a lot of questions from customers. Do they want global or local on their settings? Global basically means that it's sweeping the network for whatever is available at that time. The benefit of that is that, let's say your GPS antenna in this unit is not available at this time. It will pull from another one and still give you your global position along the equator or other such places that you're there. So the global positioning will still stay the same. If I want that to say point through my 0.1 antenna at all times, I have this scope area, and this scope drop-down menu is where the scope will be able to be changed. So if I change that to local, basically what happens on this unit stays on this unit, and the settings will stay on this unit. So if I set that to HDS 3-9 iGPS, not going to change. No matter what happens, those data sources are not going to change from that because I have it set to local. So that's a really good thing. This little drop-down menu is just the configuration menu. Like say you had to configure a device along here, like a calibration or other such things, you can hit that configure device and it will take you, let me go back to here and I'll show you what configure this device does. It takes you to the configuration screen, right? That configuration screen is going to show you exactly how to configure it. You know, if you had 2.1s, you would change this to 000 and 001, just to let the unit know that it has different 0.1s. Maybe I want to adjust my GPS signal, so I might do that, and it'll say, "Are you sure you want to do WAS?" MSAS or EGNOS, then I can set that on and turn that on and get a better GPS position if those satellites and those connections are available. And then I can do a device name. I can't change the device name here, but that's basically what configure this device does. Scope, I always change the scope here. A lot of times it says reset local or reset global. Reset local or global would only be used in the event of something was going wrong with the unit. Auto configure is basically going to sweep the network to be able to find whatever is available, and it's going to auto configure your settings, so that can be handy from time to time. But here, as you can see, is the same thing but in the depth. So depth, again, we're getting 3 dashes on our depth. Let's say, yeah, right there. See, we're getting 3 dashes on our depth. That means that there is not a transducer plugged into this. So we'll see those 3 dashes right at the bottom. If we were to have a signal that was pulling into a sonar signal right now, you know, not having a transducer plugged up to it, it's not going to see that. But it will show that depth right there on the bottom. Maybe not out of the water, but in the water, it's going to show that depth. And as we can see, both of those are going to be 3 dashes, so they're not going to be the good connections that we want. But once we plug in a transducer into this and we're in the water, it's going to give us a depth and give us the information, and that's what we really want to select. We want to select a depth that's going to be accurate for us and is going to have good connection with water. A lot of you guys epoxy transducers into the hull. If you do epoxy transducers into the hull, that's a good thing to be able to select, because you want that transducer that's in the hull that's going to have the best connection with water to be giving you your depth at all times, because it's a safety concern. You want to make sure that you don't run aground, and that's why we put on the front of the units, do not rely on this as your sole means of navigation. Definitely pay attention to shallow water areas, pay attention to where you're boating, and definitely because we want to keep you all safe out there, so definitely do that. So as you can see, these are great settings, and again, this has a depth global. I can even set this one to local. That basically means I'm going to be pulling from any local sources that are on this network, and my settings are going to be local. The key thing to keep in mind is this is saying my settings are going to be local. This is not saying my transducer is going to be local. This is not saying my other setting, I won't have access from any other transducer. This is just basically saying that it's going to be a setting there that's going to be there and available for you. So that's basically data source selection. Data sources is a really great way to be able to get that going. Device list. This is the device list. It's basically telling you everything along the network that is non-Ethernet, that is a device along the network. So if you have a 0.1 antenna, it's going to display up here. If you have a Sonic hub, it's going to display here. If you have a couple of other things that are NEMA 2000, a Yamaha engine adapter, and all of your engine information, it's going to tell you the devices that are available to communicate with your unit. So as you see, I can press the refresh button. If there's anything there, it just refreshes the network. And right now, for demonstration purposes, I'm going to go into my iGPS. This is a place where I can name my GPS antenna. I can see my software version. What's the software version that's currently available? It's 18.2. This is a Gen 3 unit. Let's say I want to name my antenna something else. I want to name it bow or console because I want to know where it's located. I can go into the name and I can do bow or console. Maybe I want to see if this, I want to configure, remember the configure from the previous ones. I can go in and I can go into that configure screen again. Maybe I can go into the data screen and just actually see what data is coming through that GPS. That's a good thing to do as well. GNSS basically is, do I want these to be accessible to be able to work with my GPS system? So that's basically the device information. It's very helpful, very easy to go through and take a look at some of those things. So I would basically just hit that X key and then go back into the system. So device list, very simple. It's telling you what devices are on the network. Damping. Some of you say my screen is turning around, or my GPS doesn't seem to be giving me the right thing. And you know, our answer is always a compass. Because if you have a 0.1 compass, it's going to greatly improve your experience. So if you're ever interested in getting one of those, definitely highly suggested. But if you're wanting to just kind of change a couple of things, you know, make sure that your heading, you know, is not as affected by the GPS signals. What I can do is I can dampen this just a little bit, and like course over ground and speed over ground. And that basically just softens up the GPS and allows it to be able to work a little bit better for you. So if your screen is spinning around, basically try damping. That will help you out tremendously in being able to get that data and actually get it to work well with the unit. So network settings, very helpful. And then finally, diagnostics. Diagnostics is a page that we look at a lot of times for errors or other such things. You don't really have to know a lot about these unless you're having really, really bad errors. A good thing to keep in mind is bus off is going to basically say that you have a bus off, or the bus is turned off. So if your bus is turned off, then of course it's going to not be receiving NEMA 2000 signals, or not be receiving something from the port. That could mean that the port's not working, or that could very possibly mean that there's something along the network that's not sending you a signal. So let's say your GPS antenna is not working, you're doing troubleshooting on that. Bus off or bus on is just one little bit of information that will help you and aid you in your troubleshooting processes. UDB, universal databases, basically what the information that your unit is connected to. Whenever I'm troubleshooting with people, because I troubleshoot on the phone quite a bit, I'm going to go to displays. So I will take a look at displays there at the bottom. And what displays is basically the network setting along the network. So basically it's giving me an IP address for this unit. So I know that this unit is communicating with this unit right now. If I have two displays down here, you know, two displays in there, what that basically means is that I have two units Ethernetted together. So if somebody calls me and says my unit is not sharing network, or is not sharing a mapping card, or not sharing waypoints, or not sharing a couple of things there, what I'll do is I will take a look at that displays, or take a look at those displays, and then that will allow me to be able to see, okay, we've got two displays that are communicating well with each other there. I want to adjust that, or I want to change that. So if those displays are communicating great and I've got two displays there, that means that the Ethernet's working. So that's just a great way to check on Ethernet. Some settings down here at the bottom, you'll see a couple of different settings here. NEMA 2000, if you're using NEMA 2000 and you want the backlight to sync or send and receive waypoint, again, waypoints are transferred back and forth over the Ethernet as well. But if you have an Ethernet system, you don't really much have to worry about this. But if you have NEMA 2000, you may want to turn on send and receive waypoint, because you'll display them. And then let's say we want our backlights to sync together. If we want that, we'll turn that on. If not, we'll just turn it off and they'll work independently. Let's say we're using NEMA 0183 for a ship-to-shore database or the like. We would basically have receive waypoint on. We might want to change our serial ports and our baud rate. That's where we would do that at. We might want to change our protocol, which would do that. We might want to get our Ethernet, and we've got an Ethernet connection right here. And that's basically going to say NEMA 183 over Ethernet. So I don't use this that much, but it's there for you. And then serial outputs. Maybe we want all of our serial outputs to be on, and the output sentences to be here. Now this is something that will, maybe your GPS or what have you will ask for this. So these are the ways in which it outputs GPS data. So all of these are great, and they're basically just telling you exactly what the data source screen is telling you. If it's outputting information and what rate it is. So let's say you're not having your GPS position pointed there, you may want to just turn all those on. It's not going to hurt you. It's just going to help you and being able to get that working in the way it was intended to work. So as you can see, a really great way to be able to get you some really great information. You can set your device name here. I like to do this because I want to know where my fish finder is, especially when I'm networking. So if I go back into the device list, as I can see, I have console right here. I know this is the console unit. So anytime I see that, I know it's the console unit that's going to be there and available. Because we here at Lowrance don't know where you're putting that unit, where you're putting it in the front and back. We don't know. So if you set that up with device name, it's going to be able to get you that going. The info screen, very helpful in being able to find out just basic info on the unit, Ethernet and wireless. It's there and ready to go for you. So that is a basic overview of network settings. Again, always, if you have any questions about this video or after this video, please give us a call and reach out to us, or reach out to us by email, or even check our help and support page to be able to find out more information. So thank you so much. Have a great day.